I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. Click that bell icon so you can be notified when we drop a new show. Go to our Instagram, click the link in our bio. You can buy merchandise. You can buy a Man Listen gear. You can buy Monique Was Right. You can also buy the brand new Mr. I Told You So shirts. You want to support the show, buy some of our merch. We really appreciate it. And make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. Let's bring the crew in. Shout out to C. So, hey, y'all, man. Social media kind of went crazy about the reviews of restaurants in Atlanta by a gentleman named Keith Lee. Now, I hadn't heard much about this guy. Apparently, you know, it was his thing. It's his thing to do reviews of different places. I don't know if he just now started doing that or how long he's been doing this. He's not the only guy that does this. There's another guy, Darius Cooks, that what they do is they go to a different city and say, hey, I'm in your city. And they go to the Black-owned restaurants. I'm assuming it's just the Black-owned restaurants that they hit up, Black-owned establishments. I don't know if they do other establishments, but they go to that city and they do their review. Now, the Darius guy, he's got somewhat of a sketchy background, and I think it's more of like a gotcha thing that he's trying to do. But it appears as if Keith Lee, his thing is to try to be fair to the restaurants that he is giving a review of. And a lot of these restaurants, people are asking him to come in to do the review. So he gave some, now I don't want to say scathing, but they weren't positive. They were truthful, but they weren't positive. And what I appreciated about him, he made sure not to say, hey, listen, don't go based off my review and give them all kind of negative reviews on Yelp. Don't do that, because why would you do that just based off of my opinion? Go make your own opinion. But a lot of people said that this shed a light on the culture, the restaurant culture in Atlanta, and how the customer service needs to improve in a drastic way. And I know Atlanta was on the hot seat with this. But I'll be honest with you, I live in Dallas, and, you know, we all live in, you know, major cities. Sometimes the Black-owned restaurants need a little constructive criticism. So we're going to talk about it today. Was this fair? The reviews that were made, were the responses to his reviews, were they out of line? And how can we support Black-owned businesses? Is it fair that we critique them in the way that we do? So, Rika, when you saw the reviews from Keith Lee, what'd you think?
I mean, I thought, like you said, it was very fair. When he started talking about the restrictions that they have, I was like, I'd have hung up and moved on with my life immediately. We don't have those problems out on the east side of Atlanta. What you mean I can't call in my order? Man, well, I'm about to pull up on y'all. Y'all gonna have to have some food waiting for us or something, or we definitely going somewhere else. Like, so I think it was fair. I think it's good that there are people out there reviewing Black restaurants, because I mean, it's free publicity. He has so many followers. He's attracting people, and then he wasn't saying the whole establishment is bad. He was like, okay, so what's going on with this business? Okay, well, this business needs more advertisement, or people just need to know that this food is this good. And then even when he talks about the food, he's like, okay, this isn't my favorite, but I'm also not a fan of this. And, you know, so he's like, I don't know. I don't think you could be more generous than he's being in his reviews. He just likes food, I guess, and wants to drive around giving these reviews. So, I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I think that there are a lot of people, especially in our community, who think that we're above reproach, and you have to hold your own self to a high standard. And I think that's something that we need to start doing, as opposed to just letting people run around in bonnets. Mister, I told you so.
Go ahead, laugh. I'm gonna ignore that one.
I think we're probably, unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, I think we're pretty much all in agreement though, because I thought he was very truthful, very forthright in the situation. And he, like you said, he said, this is my experience. Every restaurant, they have set of rules. Some of them have these rules. They're not for everybody. They're not for me and they're not for my family. There are some people who still frequent those restaurants and things like that. He's just getting it out there. And as far as Black-owned restaurants, Black-owned establishments, I think sometimes we feel that you should support us just because we're Black. The customer service sometimes it can leave a lot to be desired. So when you just look at other restaurants, I like some of those rules. Applebee's don't got those rules. You know what I'm saying? Even, Eddie V's, they don't have those rules. Even more upscale restaurants, that people like to frequent, they don't have these silly, I'm not gonna call them silly rules, these rules, because if the owner wants those rules, that's fine. But you can't be upset when someone calls you out on those rules and questions why they're in place.
Well, I think Candy had a great response to the criticism that he gave towards her restaurant. He showed up with his family. They tried to go in and place a to-go order, said, we're not placing to-go orders. Then they went in and they said, okay, it's going to be an hour and a half before we can seat you. And then he went in and they recognized him and they said, oh, we can get you in 5 minutes. And he was just like, so why'd you just tell them an hour and a half? But now that you see it's me, then you get us in 5 minutes. Like, what happened? And you can tell the little girl tried to lie, like, well, we had a bunch of reservations canceled and and Candy, her response was, we don't have the capability to give the excellent service, I'm paraphrasing, to the people that are in the restaurant and do to-go orders, so we choose not to do that. Now, if they put that in their website or that explanation, most reasonable people should be able to understand that. But when you are a entrepreneur and a small business owner, there's a learning curve. So now that okay, maybe we need to put why this rules into place so people don't just say, that's why we can't support Black-owned business.
Right.
And I think that there is, you mentioned Applebee's and Eddie V's doesn't have these rules and these things into place. But that's an apples and oranges comparison to me, because Applebee's and Eddie V's have the capital. They got their money. Our Black-owned businesses, we don't. Sometimes we operate on a shoestring budget. We got family members working in there and we're trying to do the best we can. Now, does the customer have to take an L because of that? Absolutely not. But I think that there should be a little bit more grace given to the Black-owned business. And the problem that I have with a lot of people is you never see them be heavily critical of the poor customer service they get from the hood Chinese spot. You don't see that.
Yeah.
You don't see it when they go to the Jamaican spot. You ever been to a good Jamaican spot? They rude as all get out. Food is good, but that's their culture. And that's the truth. That's the honest to God truth, right? Well, let me say, that's my opinion based off my experiences. Okay.
Yeah, your experience.
So what I appreciated him being fair, because too many people say, well, that's why you can't support Black-owned businesses. And Black-owned businesses this and Black-owned businesses that. That's that shadow boxing that we talk about, right? You got all this fire and brimstone for people that look like you, but you don't have it for other people. But I do think that there's a culture in Atlanta that needs to be addressed. And a lot of it is rooted in, I don't want to say self-hate.
Yeah.
A lot of it is rooted in in the thought process that we don't deserve good service. We don't. Because how many times have you been to a Black-owned business? How many times you been to a Black-owned business and you walk in and they're kind of just like, whatever, right? Because it's us. And then you'll see somebody else, like somebody white or somebody else walk in and they get to shucking and jiving and doing all that. I mean, I've seen it way too many times and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, it's part of it is rooted in and a lot of times in our community, not just when it comes to restaurants, but we've internalized a lot of the stereotypical quote unquote problems that Black people pose in business, right? And so we use them against ourselves sometimes, and sometimes it's unknowingly. It's just really just in everyday society, those things are just so heavily pushed on. A lot of times we don't even realize it.
I think the most nefarious thing about white supremacy is that it's taught us how to be anti-Black.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say this. My Friday nights are dedicated to going to One Island Cuisine out here in Missouri. And that Jamaican spot is the best customer service I've ever gotten. I love that place. I just go up there and sit and talk.
What happened to the Jamaican spot I took y'all to when y'all was in Dallas? We ain't gonna say their name because their food was good. But was the service great?
They had Hennessy. My service was excellent.
No, it wasn't. The girl was on the phone with her daughter.
Man,
over there taking shots with the other table while we waiting on our food. Like, get out of there. No,
can't deny people shots though. but I think that another thing, and Atlanta's my second home. Maybe our listeners don't know this, but I'm licensed in Atlanta too, so I'm always there. I feel like another challenge that Atlanta has is they're very trendy. And so when something comes, it catches fire and people swarm to it. Well, they don't have the means to accommodate the millions of people that live in Atlanta swarming to this new restaurant. And then the trend dies down and then people leave and he's like, okay, I had all this initial staff to accommodate it. And then maybe the wave picks back up. But Atlanta is very trendy and it's very like, ooh, a celebrity went there. So now I'm going to go there for the next month or two and make myself known for being here or whatever. And then it's a thing. And now they're swamped again. And so it's like, not to say that they don't definitely have poor customer service in a lot of places. And there's no world where, I'm going to go in there and not get treated right, because I have certain places that I love in Atlanta. And I like I said, I stick to the East Side because that's where I'm from. But either way, I think that that trend element, that wave of people that come with Atlanta being as Black centered and populated and all
Wakanda,
that
it's Wakanda, yeah.
It is. And then so when people decide something is big, people just descend on it, and like they're not necessarily prepared for the wave. They want it, of course, but then you can't sustain it all the time because you don't even know when it's coming, because some random celebrity or some influencer walked in and decided that you were somebody. And now, like, even like one of the places that Keith Lee reviewed, he said he went back and he went and it was empty. He went back after his review and the line was around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you plan for that?
Yeah.
And then so it's like, now you got to be in there like,
yeah.
good customer service. That's why you guys are here.
That's
These
true.
was great, but I'm tired. They tired. They probably working overtime, and now we're trying to do all this stuff. So you're trying to accommodate. Like you said, it's a learning curve, and I don't think we give ourselves enough grace, like you said, because white supremacy has taught us that we don't deserve grace. And so I think that there's an element to being like on both ways, being like, hey, you had a bad experience. I'm sorry for that. And hey, I had a bad experience. It doesn't mean it's a bad company.
Right.
Like the other guy who he reviewed that's made all these posts talking about you come for the food, not for the customer service, sir.
Hi, I'm Marika Moore, and if you want to get all up in my business, you should check out my new book, Unsolicited Marriage Advice, where I provide an analysis of the best marriage advice that I've received over the past 16 years or so. So head on over to Amazon and buy it now.
He finally made it right. He finally made it right. The restaurant's called The Real Milk and Honey.
The Real Milk, yeah.
I'll go ahead and give him a shout out. And at first they were trying to try to be cute, talking about who was Keith Lee and whatever, whatever. But then there was a post. Somebody made a real insensitive post talking about you let a guy with autism tell you where to eat, and I don't even really think Keith Lee is autistic, but even if he is, that's insensitive, because I got a grandchild that's autistic. But they finally put out, somebody did some damage control for the Real Milk and Honey, and they put out a statement saying, hey, listen, I'm paraphrasing, that we're going to address some of the issues and we don't want to minimize anybody's opinion. And then secondly, they said, and this person that made this comment about autism, they have never worked for us, don't believe everything that you see on social media, which is something that people often do, right?
Yeah, they do.
So somebody else say, oh, by the way, she's a manager. How do we know she's a manager? So I would say this, I'm big on getting to the root of things, and the root cause of all of this is white supremacy. And people laugh when I say this all the time, but it is. Because what do we talk about on the show all the time? We talk about the wealth gap. So, Arika, when you talk about Atlanta being the Black Mecca, when it being real trendy, say, okay, such and such went to this restaurant, we about to go and blow it up. You have to be able to scale your business in a sustainable way. And you can't go from, all right, we're going to plan to service 30 to 40 people in a day to 200. You don't have the capital, you don't have the inventory, you don't have the manpower. Companies across the board right now can't find people to work across the board. And the reason why is because a lot of people are like, listen, I don't know why. Maybe they're just like, we're not getting paid enough, but like people are saying, hey, if I could find good, I remember talking to some guy and he was like, listen, if I could find some people to work, I'd fire all the people that I got because they ain't no good, but at least they come to work.
Right.
At least they come to work. So it comes down to the wealth gap and our ability to scale. Because if we have the funds, then we can hire extra help. We have better inventory costs. How many times you been to a Black restaurant and you're like, damn, I want the meatloaf. And it's like, we got the meatloaf. Now, you ain't had the meatloaf all week.
Wow. This is a chicken shack. You had a chicken?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it always goes back to white supremacy, especially that anti-Blackness. Because I remember, the barbecue spot that we go to whenever we in KC, back at the crib, Gates. And I remember one person on my timeline, they had a bad experience. And they wrote the nastiest dang response about Gates. And I'm just like, one evening, and you do all of this. These people have been servicing the community since before all of us being born, probably.
For sure.
Efficiently.
I don't remember a time when Gates was not open in KC. So one time they mess up, and then the thing that I won't do, especially in Kansas City, and I'm gonna say this to all the Black folks, and it's probably gonna make a lot of people that follow the show mad, but how dare you go to anywhere in Kansas City to eat barbecue that's not Black owned? When you have so many Black owned barbecue spots in KC, especially when you know that most of these spots that you go into stole the recipe from a Black person to get their stuff going. How dare you? So I don't know. I always blame it on
virtual slap.
I blame it on white supremacy, and I do think that constructive criticism is needed. That's the only way that we're gonna people give us constructive criticism. People be like, hey man, y'all need better lighting. Hey, what's up with the cameras? What's up with that? And guess what? I don't get mad.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I appreciate you because at least you're watching. At least you're invested in my success. You're not just saying like, oh, I don't watch that show because they don't do this and that dude don't comb his beard and then blah 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 whatever. I'm talking about me, not you, man. But for the constructive criticism, it makes us better. So there's a fine line that I think we have to walk with supporting our businesses, but it comes back to that grace as well, Rika.
Yeah, that fine line is very, very iffy sometimes. Like you said, you have to be able to receive the criticism. And I think sometimes people, and I guess as a small business owner, entrepreneur, the business is you. But when someone attacks, or not even attacks, but critiques the business, I think oftentimes people take it as a personal attack. like you're terrible, you're bad, and it's not. It's sometimes it's just like you said, a learning curve. There's no perfect business. When any business started off, their model was such and such, and then they adapted and changed, and it's just a part of doing business.
I think also too, sometimes you need that criticism to point out your weaknesses because you might not see it. You might have a blind spot to it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until I started my own law firm that I was just like, wait, I'm bad at communication. What? And it was just like, people be like, hey man, you just don't never call me and follow up. I'm like, yeah, I don't have nothing to say. I'll call you when I have something to say. And I mean, over time, I realized that's not a sustainable method because people with their lives on the line are very committed to getting some updates. And so I have to outsource that because no, I will call you when I have an update. I can't just be talking to you on the phone just to be talking to you on the phone. So, but I know that I'm not good at that thanks to the negative or criticism that I received throughout the years. And so now I'm like, okay, well, this isn't some area where I'm not strong. Let me outsource this or let me, delegate this task to somebody else. And then also, or even I'll send emails. I'm big on emails. I don't want to talk to you on the phone, but let me send you this email update so at least you can say you heard from me. But you need the criticism to grow and do better.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of places that we go to in terms of like Black centered cities, you got Atlanta, you got Dallas, Houston, Charlotte, and everybody talks about how like we tired of the grass walls and we're tired of this and that and the other, right? It does get old, but people talk about Southern hospitality a whole bunch, but I think that these cities miss on what other cities like New York and Vegas have mastered in terms of, okay, now you all have become places that people want to come to.
Yeah.
You have to put service and hospitality at the forefront.
Yeah.
You look at them restaurants in New York and Vegas, even the ones like in Disney that are like, servicing families. But, the ones that are like fine dining, there's a show called The Bear. It's not a Black show. I know we the blackest radio show on the internet. But
I just heard about that show today because I saw somebody dressed like a Black girl and her husband, white dude, dress up like for Halloween or something.
But one of the main characters, and actually the dopest character, two of the dopest characters on the show are Black people, right? And especially the sister, because she is like phenomenal. But it talks about owning a restaurant and the pitfalls and the ups and downs, but the service, the food has to be good, but the service. And for some reason, we're missing that piece as Black people. And that's real. That's a constructive criticism. That's constructive criticism. That's a critique that I am going to put on our people. I wish that we could do better.
I think that's that thing though, is that every time we step outside the house, the whole world is critiquing us and negative and stuff like that. So we're already putting up that armor and being on the defense. And then so when anybody, especially close to you, says anything to you, you already like, man, what? Do you know how much I had to, pour into just showing up here today? And then you're gonna come here with something negative to say.
Yeah.
So we have to reinforce
you better
that.
build a bridge and get over that shit if you want to stay in business.
Okay, Mr. Nice Guy. But we also need to make sure that when people do a good job, we need to also pour into them then too. We're big on doing negative critiques and not big on doing positive critiques. Yep. So if somebody does something right, we need to also review and comment that, because I'm guilty of it too. I never leave a positive review. It's not until you piss me off that I'm going to find time in my day to jump on Yelp.
Unless I know you.
I only do that for white-owned businesses. See, I'm the opposite of most Negroes. I'm not a Yelper. And I know people who are Yelpers, right? They go on Yelp, they're foodies, and they do all that stuff, and they like, oh, Yelp has this, I don't trust it. Because I think like most of the super positive reviews are your cousins and your friends. And the negative, the negative reviews are the Debbie Downers who can't nobody make happy. So I'd rather go off of a somebody personally telling me to go to a spot. But I'm gonna push back on what you said, Arika, because we just said somebody, an influencer, a celebrity goes and we shout it out, and then we still not ready.
Yes, but it's a start though. You
Mhm.
still got to give that positivity. You can't just that's our problem is that we keep just getting the negative for Black folks. We're always getting the negative from society. We got to start giving each other the positive too. We got to
Yeah.
start pouring in that you did great today. You may not have had a
It don't get more positive than me coming back to your restaurant to buy your food.
but a positive review
Your
would help
reviews
you get that steady
your
incline.
reviews don't pay the mortgage. You know what pays the
Mm.
It
mortgage?
doesn't.
And buying the food.
I'm
Yeah.
not a Yelper either, except for that one time I got that trash food out in Colombia, but that was like Ruby Tuesdays or something.
I'll yep a non-black owned business. I'll give them a
Yeah.
scathing review.
But I have like even like I shouted out One Main Cuisine. I haven't given them a positive review, and I eat there every Friday. I have
Right,
sit there and
exactly.
have like 2-hour conversations with them sometimes. If we done brought the kids and everything, like we brought the whole family in
Hey,
here as we
sounds
rock with
like you
them.
got
Sounds
your
like I got some
on
work to
Friday.
do.
Yeah, on Friday. You already know when you're in there.
You already shouted them out twice on this show, and they ain't sponsored. You done did your
But
the 300
But what I'm saying is
the
we could
385 followers that we have now know about that restaurant. By the way, y'all, we need to get to at least 400 before the end of the month. Please help us out. Tell your friend to follow the show.
tell a friend to tell a friend.
Right.
But we could also lead by example and start leaving positive reviews on the Black businesses that we've been through that have been a positive experience. That's all I'm saying. And that could help them create a steady incline as opposed to these trendsetters coming in and create this rush that they're not ready for. A steady incline in business is a healthy growth model, and we could do something about that with our 385 followers.
Yeah. Well, like you said,
go ahead, Larry.
No, like you said, the trendiness, I didn't think about that. It is almost like a LA type of vibe where everybody and a lot of people in Atlanta go out to be seen, and businesses, restaurants, bars, whatever, want people there. So that kind of speaks to why they recognize them and say, hey, we can get you in right away, because it makes it feel more exclusive one way or the other. And right or wrong, some businesses that their goal is not necessarily to provide the best customer service. Their goal is to, like Marv said, pay the mortgage, to put the kids through college, to leave a legacy for their families.
But I got to call out the people in Atlanta, because the people in Atlanta say, we glad Keith Lee came, right? Because these businesses needed to be called out because the customer service here is crap. And obviously, if, enough people are saying it, then there's got, where there's smoke, there's definitely fire. But I got to call people in Atlanta out, because before this happened, like you said, somebody would say, hey, I went to this establishment. Okay, Jeezy. Shout out to Jeezy, right? Me and Arika, he was Jeezy fans. He got a new tape coming out this week, double album coming out this week. But remember when Jeezy did an interview on some podcast, and he was like, I did better when what he said was, when I told people that I owned this restaurant, the next thing you know, all the dope boys, everybody came out, and the business went downhill. I'm paraphrasing, right? But that's what he said in this conversation. And I've seen Black people in Atlanta often say, I want to go to a spot before it gets Atlanta'd out. What they mean by Atlanta is, and they've said it, there's no distinction in class in the Black community. So you have the people who are college educated professionals at the same spot where you may have the dope boys, the strippers, and whatever. Now, I believe in respecting everybody, but these people are saying the spots go down in terms of the level of clientele that come in brings the place down, in their opinion. So in Lab, you talked about, hey, listen, we go to this spot because the people who are there are the creme de la creme. You know, like you ever been out in New York and you go to the door and they're like, nah, you can't get in. We ain't got no money. You know what I'm saying? In Atlanta, according to these people, they're like, shoot, as soon as we start letting all the common folk in, then the place goes down. So I got to call Atlanta out because y'all not even treating each other the right way. Y'all can't even dine with folks. Now, there's some people that need to do better. You know what I mean? I agree, right? But it goes on both. There's blame on both sides. I think better customers, and obviously the businesses could be better at servicing their customers.
Click the link in our Instagram and our bio. You want to buy merch like this. You like that?
I did not know where you were going with that, because I was just like, oh, we can't eat with dope boys now?
According to the people in Atlanta, you can't.
No, so the people
you heard that term. You heard that term, right, Lab? When they talk about we get there before it gets landed out, and that's what they mean. We don't want it. We don't want to eat with the common folk. We don't want to eat with the poor folk. We want to eat with the people like us, our kind. That's what they mean.
So, but that goes back to wanting to be seen and wanting to be on trend. And so what they mean is they want to go before it gets unsafe for people who would be, videotaped or filmed going there to actually go. So it's like, of course, once a bunch of people get like into going and stuff like that, then the crowds and the mass and the vibe is going to change. But at the same time, I think that that's 90% of Atlanta's problem is very pretentious and it's fake. And like most of these people that's acting like they somebody are really not anybody. And then most of the people that are somebody don't really care about who they sitting next to. They just want to make sure that they getting good service and good food because that's what they came out for. And it's like, if you can control that, if you can control the service and the food, I think the clientele will eventually catch up because there's like a wave, right? There's going to be a wave where you struggling. And then if it catch trend, eventually that trend's going to die down. And the people that actually came there, ate the food, got good service, they're going to stay there. So in Atlanta, I think the biggest problem is riding that wave, surviving the wave of the trend, and then getting your core clientele that's really going to be there to support you and stuff like that. And that might actually be, the goal for most, restaurants and stuff like that. Because, I know the restaurant business is super hard, but I don't know the details of it. But that's about the way.
Sylvia's in Harlem. They, people back in the day, that was, Black people, that's where we went. We went to New York. It's like, I got to go to Sylvia's. And they had a sustainable business model. The food was good. The service was good. And then you started people seeing, okay, once Sylvia passed away, they started having the canned greens and the food quality went down. But they said people would still support them until the service started going down. And I don't want to be too hard on Black businesses because I don't think it's just Black-owned restaurants. To your point, Arika, everybody says the restaurant business is hard. It's very difficult to survive and stay afloat. Not many people can do it. Not many people can do it the right way, even if they have the investors and the capital to try to, keep it going in the scale the right way. I live in Dallas, and I talk about it all the time. There's so many restaurants here that they're beautiful spots. The build out is beautiful. They do pretty decent on customer service. Unless you twerking in the restaurant and the owner, wants to shout out you in front of everybody. But what you looking inquisitive for? You don't remember that?
You don't remember that? That's the spot we went to, though, right?
Nah, we didn't go there, but it's right down the street.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
there's, remember the spot, Arika, where they, it's I don't want to shout out their name, but it's a Black-owned restaurant, and the food is good. They got a DJ playing in there, and the Black girls was twerking on the couch, and the owner came and was like, "Y'all don't do that here," and he reprimanded them in front of everybody. You remember that a few years ago?
I do.
So, but the problem that I have with Dallas is everything is so overpriced. It's so overpriced. Now I don't know if that is a
Systematic.
function of the inputs, the supplies that they're bringing in, or because at some point we were all like, damn, they're trying to get that pandemic money back. And it seemed like everybody was trying to get that pandemic money back, right? Because I go to concerts. How many people talking about? God damn, these ticket prices for these concerts is crazy right now. And people are like, they trying to get that pandemic money back. Pandemic been over, y'all. We done got the vaccine and it's over. It's time to bring these prices back down. Folks ain't working, I mean, it's ridiculous. So I don't want to be too hard on Black-owned businesses because, like we always said, when America catches the cold, the Black community catches pneumonia.
I think that you really right, because you're like, basically you don't know if these high prices are an indication of something. I think it's systemic. I think this is a indication of what you were talking about earlier about like trying to make sure that we got the people in here that we want in here. So even if you're a drug dealer, we need you to be a drug dealer that's not spending your re-up money. We need you to be a drug dealer that's established, or you know what I mean, that you're making enough money that you can afford to
drug
eat.
dealer that's not going to get this motherfucker shot up.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I think the high prices, some of these places are trying to price people out of eating there. Like, man, the first time I ate at a real fancy restaurant, I was like, yeah, let me get a Hennessy, and they gave me a Hennessy XO, and like I think I was mixing it back then. And they was just like, yeah, these was $28 a glass. I was just like, bro, you should have just told me that in the beginning. You could have left out the ice and everything. I would have ate the ice, the juice.
Yeah. Restaurants. I mean, I think
it was wasted.
I think you're right though. They kind of cater to. They have a certain clientele they want to cater to, and they put a price point, and they feel like that's what they have to do.
I'll speak for Dallas. It's all the spots here. It's all spots here. And some are more atrocious than others.
All the spots you go to.
So when y'all was here, I'll take y'all to some hood spots, right?
Them ain't hood spots. Them our version of hood spots.
They hood spots for Dallas.
Man.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I bet you I could find something more hood than that.
For sure.
Them bonnets was not an indication of the hood, sir.
Okay. Working class spots.
Yeah, that's more like it.
Spots, But y'all, when I told y'all we're going to the hood spots, y'all Bougie Negro show stepped up in there.
Hey,
the spot that was bumping
man of the people. I'm a man of the people.
That was bumping Jesus was kind of hood though. Y'all got to admit, there was a little element of danger at the spot that was, I said, hey, they bumped Jeezy nonstop up in here. You from East you from East St. Louis. Your barometer is totally throw it off.
That's what she trying to say.
I was like, it's fine to me. My people was like, oh yeah, I know just where you
at. Listen, I'm from Top City.
It's like it's fancy in there.
Are you high for
like, oh, they don't give you the whole bottle up in there. In East St. they give you a little bottle. You buy a drink, they give you the,
Who want to be in a spot like that? So they get the thumping and bottles get to flying. No man. I don't want nothing to do with that. So,
but the best place though. You gotta be grown to get in there though.
Yeah, shout out to Keith Lee. I like to see him come to Dallas. I like to see him go to Houston. But shout out to Keith Lee because I think that there's a level of accountability that is needed in the Black community, and I believe he's doing it on both sides. He is, giving good feedback to these businesses, and like you all said, even the ones that he criticized, it still brought attention to them. What did we say? All press is good press, or however it goes.
Yeah, something like that.
I mess that up all the time, but I'd like to see him go to, Charlotte, Dallas, Houston, because it seems like he's more fair than the other guy. And I think that I appreciate his approach in saying, hey, listen, don't trash this company. Don't trash this business. Don't give them negative stars. I think that's called doxing.
Yeah.
It's called doxing. Now, I'm all about doing that for racist establishments. For sure. But we can't do that to ourselves. So shout out to Keith Lee. We'd like to see you continue to do the good work, sir. Shout out to all the Black-owned businesses. If you want to support the show, hit us up. We definitely would like the sponsorship. If y'all want to support the show, go to the link in our bio on Instagram, buy some of the merchandise. If you know somebody who's a know-it-all, like Lab and Erika, buy them this shirt. The Mr. I Told You So shirt. We even got crop tops for women. So buy the show. All the proceeds go to supporting us so we can continue to put this show out. And I think we talked about it enough. You know, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
It's hoodie season. Hi, C.